Yo, welcome back everybody to a brand new video here on the second channel, and recently we have gotten more card reveals from the Pokemon Card 151 set that is coming out later this year, including 2 new EX cards. Of course, the set is all Kanto Pokemon, and we've gotten some pretty new, interesting cards that have been revealed, and I did want to take a look at them because it's been a minute since I've looked at new cards, and we have gotten quite a few of them over the past week. So it's time to take a look at some of the new cards that we have in the original 151 set here. If y'all are going to go on to enjoy the video, leave a like and make sure to click the subscribe button down below here on the second channel so you never miss an upload and all that good stuff. All right, without that out of the way, let's take a look at some of these new cards. Starting things off, we got a new EX with Ninetales EX. Now, this is Ninetales EX, goes with Arcanine EX. Look at that. Ninetales EX is a fire Pokemon with 260 HP, and it has 2 attacks. The first attack, Heat Wave, does 30, and then it burns the active, so 1 for, what, like 50, I think, with burn. Not great, but then your second attack, Mirrored Flames, for a fire and a colorless, does 80 damage, and if you have the same number of cards in your hand as your opponent, you do 140 more damage. So, in total, you can do 220 damage with this attack, and honestly, that is not too shabby. For 2 energy, 220 damage is not bad. I mean, that's knocking out other basic EX Pokemon. Of course, Ninetales is a fire Pokemon, so it has good synergy with Magma Basin, Armarouge, Radiant Charizard. Yeah, this could actually be an okay attacker in a Firebox deck. Its 260 HP does make it a little fragile compared to Arcanine EX, which has, 280 HP. So it's definitely a little bit weaker in terms of HP, but it can do a decent bit of damage. I mean, 220 damage isn't bad numbers to hit. And again, being a fire Pokemon means you can pair with some fire Pokemon. You could even play with Rapidash if you wanted to try to do more damage. It's not hard to match your opponent's hand size. And actually, I'm pretty sure Copycat is in the format. Copycat was reprinted in Evolving Skies. Yeah, it was Evolving Skies. So this card does have Copycat. So if you really wanted to make your deck around Ninetales EX, Copycat is in the format. Next up is going to be some other new cards here. So we got some Trainer Gallery cards, Garville. We got Pikachu, Nidoking. I think we've already looked at the Nidoking before, and then we got Ammonite. But we do have some other new cards, including a brand new Wigglytuff EX. Now, this card is actually pretty cool. So it's got the ability Expanding Body, where if this Pokemon has any special energy on it, it gets plus 100 HP, and Wigglytuff already has 250 HP on a stage 1. So you give it 250 HP plus the 100, you're going up to 350 HP. You can also pair Wigglytuff with Dunsparce if you want, so you can play Dunsparce, which will take away Wigglytuff's fighting weakness. So you have a 350 HP Pokemon with no weakness. That seems pretty good. Now, there are some downsides to the ability. While the ability is insanely powerful, it does get bodied by cards like Path to the Peak. If your opponent puts a Path to the Peak in play, Wigglytuff's ability is immediately shut off. And that definitely is one of the crushes Wigglytuff has. And there are a handful of decks that do play Path. There are decks that don't bother playing Path. I mean, Lost Box doesn't play it. And, this ability would be very, very good against Lost Box, especially when combined with the likes of Charon's Care. You do also have Miraidon, Lugia. They don't play Path. There are some decks that play Path, which would suck. Now you do have the attack Friend Tackle that for 3 colors does 90 damage, and if you played a supporter from your hand, do 90 more damage. That's not a bad attack. I mean, you're always playing a supporter every turn for the most part. So as long as you're just playing a supporter, you're doing 180 damage a turn. This attack does require 3 energy, which means you can play double turbo with it to fill it up faster. The nice thing about Wigglytuff is there is another Wigglytuff coming out in Paldea Evolved. Of course, we got the brand new Wigglytuff that allows you to accelerate a therapeutic energy from your hand to one of your Pokemon, and therapeutic energy prevents you from being asleep and paralyzed, I'm pretty sure. So right away, Wigglytuff can be combined with the Wigglytuff that we are getting in Paldea Evolved to actually create a pretty cool engine for Wigglytuff, and I'm quite a big fan of the idea of playing Wigglytuff EX with the other Wigglytuff as a way to build it up. And again, the ability is pretty strong. The attack is nice. I mean, it's a good chunk of damage to do. And again, if you're not playing against Path to the Peak, then this ability can be very annoying to play against, because 350 HP is a ton of health. And with Dunsparce, you can't just play a funny Pokemon and hit it for weakness. So I'm pretty interested to see how Wigglytuff will do. Could even be good with, Lugia. Could be a good card to play in Lugia. I mean, a 350 HP attacker in Lugia also seems pretty good. So we'll have to see where Wigglytuff EX ends up going. I do think this card is pretty strong, though, and being able to get a lot of HP is really nice, and being able to synergize really nicely with cards like Charon's Care, Dunsparce, and the Paldea Evolved Wigglytuff does mean this Wigglytuff does have quite a bit of potential to be a decent archetype. Kind of, it reminds me a lot of Oinkalone EX, basically, right? And you also put V-Guard on this. Like I forgot to mention, this card also can play V-Guard energy, which means you can get basically 380 HP against a V Pokemon, which is kind of nuts. Yeah, Wigglytuff looking pretty good. Next up, we got a brand new Weezing. I am a huge fan of Weezing cards. They've always made pretty cool Weezing cards, and this one is no exception. It's got the ability Explode Together. If this Pokemon is in the active spot and is knocked out by damage from an attack from your opponent's Pokemon, you flip a coin. If heads, the attacking Pokemon is knocked out. So if your opponent, I don't know, like Tempest Dives your Weezing with Lugia, knocks it out, you can potentially flip a coin. If heads, the attacking Pokemon also then gets KO'd, right? So then the Lugia would also get knocked out. And the nice thing about this ability is we've seen it before. We've seen it on Galarian Cursula. We've seen it on a very infamous Gengar, which was actually a decent deck back in the day. And now we're seeing this Fainting Spell ability return. I'm pretty sure it was on, like, Frostlass, too. But yeah, this Fainting Spell-like ability has always been something we've seen before, and this Weezing is no exception. And the ability can be very annoying. Like, if you're using a 3-prize or a 2-prize Pokemon, and you're knocking out a Weezing and taking 1 prize, and if your opponent flips heads and you get knocked out, that can be pretty insane. And it is a very luck-based ability. Now, Weezing's main attack, Spinning Gas, for 2 colors does 50, and then 10 damage to each of your opponent's bench Pokemon. Nice little spread attack. I mean, the only problem with the attack is 50 damage is extremely lackluster. And I mean, yeah, you get to do some bench damage. You compare this with, like, Lunala if you wanted to. I don't know if this Weezing is very good compared to the other Fainting Spell Pokemon we've had. If it had better attributes, like if it did more damage or had a more interesting attack, if it was like Severe Poison Weezing that we just had with, you know, Galarian Weezing, this could have been a lot better. But the ability is really cool. It'll be a fun little meme deck to mess around with on the ladder. I don't know if Weezing will be super playable. The other thing to note, by the way, it is damage from an attack. So if you're playing against Sableye, they can still Lost Mine you and get around the ability, which, not that you would really need the ability against Sableye anyways, but it's just something to note, is that this would, you know, this ability isn't going to work against, like, Sableye. I just wanted to, you know, just, I like calling Pokemon out on their overpowered design cards. Next up, we got a new Firo. Nothing too crazy here. It does have a cool Spearow, though, with the ability Evolutionary Advantage, where if you go second, you can evolve it on the first turn. But then, yeah, Firo, nothing too crazy about this card. It's got its own article. The only interesting thing is about the attack is Beak Catch. That lets you search deck for up to 3 cards and put them in your hand. So if you're going second, this could actually be kind of cool. So, I mean, you go second, you get a turn 1 Firo in play, you attach energy to it, and then you do the first attack and get 3 cards for next turn. And if you don't get Iono'd, then you're probably chilling. So could be a fun way to maybe set up your deck. I wouldn't put much stock in that, though. Again, with Iono being super popular, I don't think this Firo will be playable at all. Next up, we got a new Rhydon, Ryhorn, and a new Meowth and Persian, which all have really good synergy with a certain Giovanni card. So we got this new Rhydon here with Charismatic Drill that for 2 fighting and a colorless does 40, and if you played a Giovanni's Charisma from your hand during this turn, this attack does 140 more damage. So you do 180 damage with the attack. So if you play a Giovanni's Charisma from your hand, you can do 180 damage, and that's decent. It's a decent attack. Of course, Giovanni's Charisma here does allow you to choose an energy attached to your opponent's active Pokemon and return to their hand, and then you choose an energy from your hand and attach it to your active Pokemon. So it's energy acceleration and energy disruption all in one. Not the worst card ever. We've already looked at it before, I'm pretty sure, but it's definitely not the best card ever, but it is an energy acceleration card, so technically it can power your Rhydon up, which is kind of cool. And, I mean, it's not bad. 180 damage, sorry, is actually okay numbers. You're two-shotting most things. And then you have Persian here with the ability Rocket's Call. Once your turn, you can search check for a Giovanni's Charisma and put it into your hand. So you get to play Persian, which can actually search the Giovanni out of the deck for free, which is cool synergy. Of course, Palpad's in the format, so you could play like Palpad Persian to get Giovanni's Charisma. Really cool card. If we see more Giovanni's cards, like, I could see this being an actual deck. I mean, Rhydon is just not enough for this deck to work, and if we see more Giovanni's Charisma, like, synergy cards, then maybe, just maybe, this could be an actual fun little rogue deck, because Persian does have a good ability. I mean, being able to search the supporter out for free is kind of bonkers, and I do like that. It's a really good card. If we get more good Giovanni's partners in the future, this could actually be a fun deck to try out. Next up is Gyarados. Gyarados, we've always had interest in Gyarados. This one does have an ability with Ruffian. When you play it from your hand to evolve one of your Pokemon during your turn, you must discard the top 5 cards from your deck. Yes, you heard right. you evolve it, and you mill your own cards. I don't know if this is a very good card for that ability alone. The attack isn't very good either. Hyper Beam does 200 damage. You discard energy from your opponent's active Pokemon. The attack also isn't that great. I mean, needs way too much energy. Yeah, you can play with Baxcalibur, but I'm not going to do that. So, unfortunately, this Gyarados doesn't seem very good. I don't know if there's any scenario where milling the top 5 cards of your deck is that good. I mean, I guess you could play it in, like, the United Wings deck. That's, like, the only deck I can think of where this ability would ever be good. I'm pretty sure this is just a bad card, and most people will kind of agree that it seems pretty bad. Definitely not a very good card, unfortunately. We'll get another playable Gyarados soon, don't worry. We do have Butterfree with Whirlwind. You can switch your opponent switch your active with one of the bench Pokemon. And then you got Bye-Bye Flight, which works on a double turbo. You choose one of your opponent's bench Pokemon, and they shuffle that Pokemon, all cards attached to it, into their deck, and then you shuffle this Pokemon into your deck also. So, essentially, you're resetting both your active and your opponent's Pokemon. You're not taking a prize for doing this, though. I do feel like the Golduck is a little bit better, but that attack is pretty strong. And it could be pretty funny in Expanded when there's a Metapod and Caterpie that let you put this Butterfree into play when you play Caterpie on your bench that same turn. So that could be a fun little meme, but I don't think those cards are existing in the format anymore. I think they rotated, but Butterfree's interesting. I don't think it's going to be, like, playable. It is a really cool attack, though, but in the format we're in, I mean, resetting a Pokemon doesn't really do too much anymore, unfortunately. It's not as good. We got Vulpix, which would go with the Ninetales, and we got a new Lapras here with Shell Top Transport. Search deck for up to 2 Pokemon and put them in your hand. Just a pretty overall vanilla card. We got new Ghastly, Haunter, and Gengar, which we've always seen pretty cool Ghastly, Haunter, and Gengar cards. So, or Gengar cards for sure. We got Haunter with an ability. Once during a turn, when you place a card from your hand to evolve Pokemon, you may choose a porter from your opponent's discard pile and put it into their hand. So that's a really cool ability. And this actually could be fun with Gengar, Mimikyu, and Expanded. Which means this Gengar will have an attack that does work with this. With the attack Poltergeist, look at your opponent's hand and do 50 damage for each trainer you find there for a single Psychic Energy. That's not bad. I mean, 50 times isn't as good as, say, like 60 times, but 50 times can get the job done. And I'm pretty sure Genki also did 50 times. And again, with Haunter's ability, you're able to actually build up their hand. Now, the problem with Gengar is Iono is now in the format, which will hurt Gengar's potential because of Iono. But you could play Gengar with Bayonet EX, right? You could Bayonet EX, item lock the opponent, and then go Gengar in the late game. Could be a really cool combo. So I could see, like, Gengar Bayonet being a cool deck. You got Horror Attack, which does 110. You put 3 damage counters on your opponent's bench Pokemon any way you like. So this Gengar is actually, like, semi-playable, and I kind of like it. Poltergeist is really cool. The Haunter is honestly kind of sick. I don't know if there's going to be a scenario where, like, Haunter will ever be, like, a good tech card. Maybe in a control deck. I don't even know. Would Haunter's ability be good in a control deck? Probably not. Yeah, I don't know if Haunter would be good in a control deck. It's funny that this would be better in Expanded with Gengar and Mimikyu. You can play Surprise Box Haunter, and Gengar and Mimikyu can start doing some crazy numbers. I'm actually really excited to try that, actually. What the heck? I'm more excited for that than the Gengar itself. But, yeah, no, the Gengar is honestly kind of cool. It's nice that we got, like, a decent playable Gengar again, because they've always given Gengar, like, pretty interesting cards, to say the least, and this is just another one that could be kind of cool. And, again, the Haunter is really, really cool, too. But yeah, that's it for the new cards. I think the best new card to got revealed probably was Wigglytuff EX. I think Wigglytuff EX actually can be a playable card. And the new Gengar's pretty cool too. Ninetales EX isn't terrible either. But yeah, there are some new cards here that got revealed. Hope you all enjoyed the video. If you did, leave a like. Let me know what you think of the new cards down below. What do you think of the new Giovanni's combo with Persian and Rhydon? Love to hear your thoughts on that down below. Hopefully we maybe get more Giovanni cards in the future, because we could actually see, like, a pretty cool archetype come out of that. Kind of like Catterday was in a way, right? That's kind of my thought on that. But yeah, thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed, and I'll see you on another video soon on the second channel, and bye-bye.